There you are, Patricio. Okay, just send me. There you go.
Okay, is it
We
working?
are connected,
Oh my
yes.
gosh, this is wild.
Isn't it? This is your first time, right?
Yes, I've never used this thing on Instagram before.
Yeah, I hadn't either until all this happened. So this is a nice opportunity.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I
Okay,
can.
okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good.
Yeah,
It's been, I keep saying this because I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it's been a time, hasn't it?
yes, I think I understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
So,
Well, to begin, I think we should open up in prayer, if that's all right. Could I actually
that
ask
sounds good.
you to pray for us?
I can do that.
Okay, okay.
All right, let's just take a few moments of silence to um allow our hearts to welcome Christ into its midst, to recognize God's presence in each other, to recognize God's presence among each other. We begin in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving God, we ask you to come join us, to come be with us this afternoon, this morning, to be present in our hearts, to be present in our conversation this morning, to be present to all those who join us this morning in this communal conversation as we continue to journey and trek unknown these unknown waters, but know that you are present with us each and every single step of the way. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
That was beautiful. Thank you so
Oh
much.
my gosh.
All
Thank
right,
you.
well, so for anyone who might be joining us, I'm assuming that everyone who's on so far knows who you are, but just in case we have anyone who doesn't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so my name is Brother Patricio Chacón. I'm a member of the Norbertine community here in the South Valley of Albuquerque. Um, I'm currently going to school, things like that. Information for the Norbertines as well. I'm a simply professed member. Um, I've been I made my vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience about how long ago was it? A
Um,
little half a year
three,
ago.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
like last August.
last August. And so yeah, so that's I'm just doing school and stuff right now, and that's it. So
Well, I was actually going to ask you. So I gave you my series of questions to ask you during this time because we actually haven't really spoken since quarantine and stay at home orders were issued and everything. So tell us what is a day in the life in the social distancing life at the Abbey? How does that look for you?
so for me, how that looks, social distancing life. Um, so of course, we have all of our liturgies in the morning prayer, um, mass, and usually, sometimes depending on what my schedule is for the day, I will go either have some breakfast or I'll come back to my room and do homework or something for a little while, or I will take a nap, which which a social distancing nap, to kind of just to get ready for the day because I spend most of it in my room on the computer now, because of school. All my classes have switched online, um, so I usually don't see very many people throughout the day, just because I spend most of it in my room doing homework or something. Um, but then I'll go out to the kitchen, grab some lunch or something at some point. Uh, and usually how we're social distancing here at the Abbey is I mean, because I don't remember how many of us are living here. There's like 15 of us here right
Yeah.
now.
Uh,
Um, but we'll sit no more than 4 people per table. And
and before that, how many?
we would just kind of put like 6 or 7 people at a table, depending on who was here that night for dinner or something. So now we only have 4 people per table. Um, and also in the church, we're also sitting every other chair in order to help with the social distancing as well, you know. Um, so after lunch, I'll come back, um, do some more homework, some more reading, um, and then I may or may not have another nap.
It's tempting,
And
right?
then yes, I mean it's so easy. My bed is just right there. Um, so I just really enjoy my naps.
I
But
know a few people who do.
so um, and then we'll have our evening liturgies. We have evening prayer, um, and then dinner after that. But then I'll come back to my room usually and continue working on more homework um, and things of that sort until who knows how long.
Yeah.
Depends on whatever's happening in the academic world.
Yeah. What classes are you taking right now?
Um, I am taking a philosophy of mind class, an epistemology class, um, a class called Gender and Ancient Religion, um, Catholicism in America, and there's one more class that I'm taking. I can't remember. It's Chinese philosophy.
Ah. Are
So
all of these at UNM or otherwise?
yes, they're all at UNM.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
All of them are at
And these
UNM.
are all part of your formation and discernment, correct? Like,
Yeah, so I'm finishing my degree in philosophy at UNM right now. And so these are the classes that I need. There was kind of a sort of a there was a something crazy happened in the semester. One of the instructors had to retire about 3 days into the semester, and they had no one to replace in order to teach the other courses that were required. So there were a few of us who were scrambling at the last minute to try and figure out um, how to, kind of complete the requirements for a degree, but we all finally got that figured out.
yeah. Well, good. Well, just in case anyone has joined in and they don't know who I am, my name is Selena. I am the Program and Communications Coordinator for the Office of Christian Discipleship and Religious Vocation at Santa Maria de la Vida Abbey in their office for young adult outreach. And Brother Patricio and I met before he became Brother Patricio. Um, I think we met before we actually connected, I guess, like as friends. Um, it was 2016. It was August, and we went to a conference in Chicago called Catholics on Call. And I mean, that's my earliest memory, but I have a feeling that we met before that. I remember seeing you around before that, but that's kind of how we became friends. And then he was at that time was convinced that he was going to become a diocesan priest, and then the Norbertines, in their Norbertine way, drew him in, and which is a loving way. We both might be a little bit biased, but it's a loving way, and drew him in, and he made his entered the novitiate in 2017.
I think
Yeah,
so.
Feast of Saint
Yeah,
Augustine, I think.
2017.
Yeah, and so with that in mind, actually, um, one of the questions I wanted to ask you too was, um, how has this time affected your formation and discernment? And I have a follow-up question to that too. Does it remind you at all of that hermitage period that you entered into after you entered the novitiate?
Yeah.
Which you
So
can describe what that
that
time was like for people who don't know.
yeah, um so whenever we first enter the order as a novice, and whenever we enter the order as a novice, that's when we receive our habit. And whenever we do that, um, we do this thing called Hermitage, and it's a 3-month period where we don't leave the abbey at all. We don't leave the monastery. We have no social media, no access to the outside world. I mean, I have my room phone in here so I can call family and things like that. Um, but it's really a time to the beginning of letting go of kind of everything that's out in the world. It's you learn to focus on what your ministry is as a Norbertine. And we're first called to minister to our brothers here in community. And so that period allows us to really focus on that and to really center ourselves around that idea of ministering to minister to those in our community. And really to learn what it is to be an Norbertine, and I guess how to be an Norbertine. So that's a period of 3 months, and so it's very challenging because going from having all these distractions around us out in the world, and not really having the time to focus or center oneself in their spiritual life. Sometimes, at least for myself, that's what it was. Getting rid of all those things was very challenging, because I was used to having so much was the word stimulation.
Yeah, it makes
But
sense.
having so much external stimulation in my life, and to realize the silence that was present once I began that hermitage period, it was very uncomfortable, very challenging, um, and not being able to leave was very hard. It was very hard for me because I enjoyed going and hanging out with friends and seeing my family a little more often than I do now. Um, so this time in my formation and stuff, now that we're back, we're we're in the stay-at-home orders and things like that. It reminds me a lot of Hermitage. Um, the only thing is I have social media and things like that now to keep in touch with people, to people outside and things like that. And music as well. I also didn't really have much music to listen to during Hermitage. Um, but not really going outside is what really is still challenging after after you've been going out and stuff every day. Again, for whatever it is. So it brought me back, and it really allows me to focus again on the idea of who I am ministering to, and where that call begins. That call within you, and that call to serve my brothers here at the Abbey, which then allows me to go out and minister to everyone else, to the others, because of what I receive here.
Yeah. Well, thank
So
you. Thank you for that answer. I mean, not that any of us, I think most of us watching haven't entered a religious life or anything like that. So in a very like relatable way, we're kind of forced into a hermitage period, which is interesting, and it's kind of, I don't want to say force again, but we'll say it's encouraged us to reflect a little bit more on who we're ministering to, because as disciples of Christ, we're all called to ministry in some form or fashion. So, yeah, thank you for that answer. My next question is, I mean, you kind of already, well, actually, I don't know that you've actually answered this question, but what's inspiring or challenging you lately, spiritually, on a spiritual level?
I think being home a little more. it's I mean, I spend a lot more time around the people I live with. Even though I'm still in my room and stuff all day, I still see them a lot more now. Now that we're home pretty much most of the time. Um, but one thing that some people might not realize is, in religious life, and especially with a community as small as ours, we're it's basic. It is a family, and so we have all those challenges. that we might encounter, in a family structure back home and things like that. So there's a lot of times where where I'll just be like sitting in the church or something, and someone walks in, and I just like get so upset because that person has walked in and they haven't even done anything, But so I think for me, in terms of my spiritual life, those sorts of things where I'm losing my focus on what I am actually, praying for at that moment, or, the silence that I'm in at that moment. I just find myself becoming I'm more distracted um, when it comes to my prayer life, my spiritual life. It's easier for things to take me out of whatever I'm doing, easier for things to distract me from that silence that I'm sitting in. So that's been a little bit of a challenge for me there, as well as with school and everything going online. It's become a lot more challenging as well to be able to take that time for that silence, which I think each and every single one of us has within us, that desire for some silence, that longing for silence. Um, but being able to put down the homework, or say that I need to take a little break from this, and allowing myself to go somewhere to just be silent, to just pray, to just really be in God's creation, and to allow myself to be there fully. So that's for me during this time, I think, has been a little bit of a challenging experience for my spiritual life. I mean, it's surprising because you'd think being home a lot more, you'd say like, oh, well, there's more time now to pray and things like that. And there definitely is a lot more time to do that. But just trying to balance that um, between, kind of homework and things like that, and schoolwork and stuff. Um, and just kind of whatever it is that's distracting me from that moment of prayer, just trying to take all of that and balance it with my prayer life, my spiritual life. So I think that for me is what has been um, a challenge during this whole stay-at-home order.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. And you're coming from a kind of way of life from where you weren't as at home as much, and so whenever you got to be home and got to have time for personal prayer, there wasn't really anyone kind of quote unquote interfering with that or distracting you from that. Whereas now that everyone's, and I know that the members of the community are still going out and doing their ministries because they have to, they're priests
Mm.
or brothers. And so, I mean, there's hospital ministry and then there's parish ministry where a lot of our pastors are still making a way for all of the faithful at home to see Mass or experience online virtual adoration. And so, even with all of that, I know that everyone is at the Abbey more. And so it's not like you have your communal times of prayer with morning prayer and evening prayer and Mass, but I mean, while you're encouraged toward individual prayer, I mean, there's lots of opportunity for people to kind of just walk in on your time in a way. And so, yeah, I think, and you come from a big family, so you can kind of compare the the chaos of that family dynamic to the chaos can exist in a religious order. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for
So,
that too. Well, in line with that, I know that you posted some photos on social media of you coming out of the desert chapel, or of, just the surrounding nature of that encompasses the Abbey. So, what advice do you have for staying in prayer during this time?
I think, staying in prayer during this time, no matter where you are or where you're at right now with things, is just allowing yourself to really to really recognize God's presence around you, um, and and for me, like in that picture and stuff that I posted, I think it was Holy Saturday. I posted a picture when I was walking over to the Augustine Commons, and I just had to stop and just I wanted to take a picture because it was just such a beautiful morning, and it's always moments like that that I'm surprised that I find myself in prayer, and it's not necessarily praying for something at that moment, but just allowing myself to enter into what that moment is and what's happening in that moment. Now God has invited me to search for His presence in that moment of what's taking place. Um, so I guess staying in prayer is just allow your heart to continue to be open, or if your heart isn't really open, to kind of start working towards something like that, to open your heart to God to work in whatever way He can. You know, there's in addition to like the silent prayer and things like that in the chapel and just kind of sitting in front of the Blessed Sacrament. As soon as I leave there, there's always sort of peace that's found in just walking around in nature and things like that, and recognizing and just giving thanks that God has allowed me to be in this, to realize that God has created all of this. God created the sandias, the trees, the rocks. There's the smallest things that are around me. Um, so I would just say keep your heart open to God's movement in it, and God will lead you, I think, to that place where you need to be.
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely agree. I remember in my college days when I would be walking around UNM, and I mean UNM is not in nature. There's nature within it, but it's very much city. And I remember walking around or even just waiting for the bus, and there would be a moment where all of a sudden I would just, be aware of God's hand in something. A song would come on my playlist, or it would be a super, super hot day and a cloud would come and cover the sun or something. And it was just for me, like God's hand in reminding me, hey, I'm still here. So just, be with me while I'm here. And so I think with your comment about entering into those moments and embracing those moments, not letting them pass by, but taking a second to just receive that moment and recognize God's presence, and it opens your heart up to all of the other moments that come. So
Hmm.
yeah, I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. I'm gonna be noting that down. Well, I already did, but for
And
others, I will be.
and I even think, because a lot of times, especially now with a lot of people staying at home, I think it can be very challenging, of course, with mental health and things like that, and also, just this feeling of loneliness that some people might be encountering during this time while staying at home. I mean, it's no lie that, that each of us has experienced and encountered loneliness. It might be in a different way, for each of us, but I think especially during this time, for a lot of people, that's something that they're experiencing. So even in that, it can be easy, I think, to kind of, um, it can be kind of easy um, to, I guess, not lose focus, but kind of, I guess, yeah, lose focus and kind of be thrown off balance and things like that in our prayer life. So, and I think sometimes we think that loneliness in those challenging moments aren't, um, we might think they're things that are not good, um, but that those moments as well, those moments in loneliness are, a reminder of our humanness, and a reminder that 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 we do need God, that we do need God within our life, especially now with all of this stuff that's taking place. To remember that God is, in control of everything. God continues to walk with us even in that loneliness that we're feeling. Um, but to not, I guess, don't despair with that loneliness that you feel. Allow yourself to be present to what that loneliness is and what it is telling you, you know? Um, I think when I joined religious life, I had never, and I think a lot of us who've joined religious life, you know, um, I think a few of us might have, at least myself, I was like, oh, all these problems are gonna go away and stuff, you know? But I think for me, that was the biggest challenge to overcome was the loneliness that takes place within our hearts, no matter if we're, you know, living in religious life with the community or if we're in a relationship or something like that, you know? Um, but to allow that to be a moment of prayer, that loneliness that you're feeling, um, to take it to God, you know? Um, that you aren't in this alone. But there are others who understand what you're feeling. Um, that there are people that you can reach out to, especially in times like this, you know. Um, so yeah, but
Yeah.
also, oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just gonna mention that you have some wonderful writings about, things that you've written about your period in Hermitage, and even about, I mean, the Abbey is normally open to the community, the surrounding community, for people to join in morning prayer and mass and evening prayer. But right now, that's not an option. And
Mhm.
so, and you have some wonderful, wrote something beautiful with regard to that. So I don't know if you have one of those handy, your poem that you, both of them we put in our art shows. Um, but if you are okay with this, you could send me either one or both of them, and I could share them with, on social media or on our website, just to
Yeah,
kind of help people piece together. This is one view of how we can embrace, and even just like you said, it's a moment to recognize our loneliness is a moment for God. So recognizing that we aren't alone. It's something that we're feeling, but yeah. So
yeah.
just thought I'd mention that, but yeah,
Yeah, I can send them to you. I just
thank
need to,
you.
I have no idea where out of my computer they are.
Okay, well, and I might still have them, so I'll double check with you. But
Oh, and one thing I was gonna say earlier about like being out in like you know God's creation and stuff like that. Um, we've had this family chat, and I think my brother's still on here. My brother Amadeo. Um, but we've had a family group chat going back and forth for a while. But like my brother and my family and stuff, they've been sending like pictures and stuff because they've been like out in the mountains and
there
stuff
he
quite a
is.
bit.
He just went.
Oh, there we go. Well, he can tell you how horrible I am at texting back because because they've had all these pictures and stuff of like hikes and things that are going on. Um, but I've just not been very proactive in in texting back to the group chat that the family has going. But I just reminded of that because you know I really looking at those pictures and stuff. Um, you know, I can't wait to be able to go back out to go camping or something, to go hiking or something like that. You know, to just to be in the wilderness with God. so,
Yeah.
so
Well, and one of your
it's
favorite
good.
things that we've talked about in conversation is it has been the pilgrimage for vocations. And so
Yes,
um, I think I'm not sure if that's still happening. Um, I don't think it's been canceled yet, correct?
the pilgrimage for vocations has been canceled for
Oh,
this
okay,
year.
it has. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, after this is all over, because actually that was going to be my next question is what are you looking forward to after, when we're able to rejoin society? Um, is maybe we can, even at some level, put together some kind of mini pilgrimage here in the city to, you know, pray for vocations, pray for
Yeah.
healing, pray for all those things that are going on and that we're going to kind of be emerging from after all of this. So,
hmm
are you looking forward to anything else though beyond?
So I am very much looking forward to you know, having public be able to join us for mass, for liturgies and stuff here. That's something that I miss a lot at the Abbey. And once everyone was gone, I realized I'd taken that for granted. Just the presence of other people around. So there's, we have here at the Abbey, we have all our daily mass goers. And there's really a few of them, and they're some of you guys may know Fidel and Virginia Garcia and Maria Elena and her family sometimes. But just kind of being able to see them every day. It was a blessing, and that was, I think, their presence is something that I took for granted here. And so I'm looking forward to be able to be able to see those people who would join us for our daily masses, for evening prayer, for morning prayer, and then everyone who we would see on our Sunday liturgies as well for Mass. So I'm looking forward to that, to be able to see them,
Well,
to be able to
good.
see them again. So
Well, I mean, communio, community, definitely appropriate answer.
yeah,
But I know coming from you, it's a totally honest answer. Okay, so I think we're nearing the end of my questions, at least. Of course, if you have any questions, Brother Patricio, please feel free to ask me. We've talked, so I don't know that you really do have questions, but the one of the ones that I am going to ask you now is, how can I pray for you? How can I pray for all of the Norbertines? You
I think
specifically and the community.
um, just make sure we all stay sane here with each other. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's actually I think we're all doing pretty good.
Good,
But
good, good.
um, I think prayers in terms of for myself, just continuing the rest of the semester, as well as a lot of the other students who are finishing up their semesters online, or who are going to start their semesters online again. Um, but also especially for our hospital chaplains that we have here, especially Father Bob. I think you guys know he's a hospital chaplain. So just continuing to keep him in prayer with those patients that he comes into contact, that he stays healthy, so that way he can continue to do what he feels God is calling him to do.
Definitely. I will be. And then I will also keep in prayer all of the priests who are still going out for parish ministry and all that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Because I know that they're still being exposed to staff who are still working, and yeah, so
and I guess so I guess a prayer for a community would be to just be able that we can respond um, to the community as the community needs, so that we continue to be present for the community in whatever way they may need.
I'm writing these down, so I will definitely be keeping these in prayer. And I do have one other question. It's kind of silly. I'm trying to create a playlist on our Norbertine Outreach Spotify account. I'm calling it Communio, because I know
Uh-huh.
that's the charism of the community. And so I'm trying to add very kind of Norbertine centered songs, but also songs that are reflective of the community here in New Mexico. So, I mean, I'm thinking of you trying to add some mariachi flavors in there. So, what songs could I add to this playlist?
Oh
Do you have
gosh,
any suggestions? I mean,
not
okay,
right
so
off the top of my head.
let me tell you what I've added so far. So I've added "All Are Welcome" because I know that Abbott loves that song. Has kind of
Yes,
deemed that song the theme of the community, kind of,
I think
right?
it's actually like in our community. I think it's in our binder of customs here for the Abbey. It's in the back of the book of customs.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Okay,
song,
okay.
yeah.
Well, and then I know that Father Jean loves "Your Words Are Spirit and Life," so I added that one because he usually, whenever he gives a homily, he usually begins his time, by a cappella singing that song and inviting the parish to sing along. Um, and so I'm also trying to think of other ones like Bendito, Bendita, Bendito, Bendito, or
Oh, there we
other
go. Oh
other
my
things like
gosh.
that. So if you or if anyone who's still who's watching has any ideas for New Mexican Catholic hymns that they think of when they think of the Norbertine community, send them my way, message us so that we can get this playlist made for for this time, for people to kind of unite in music with the community. So If you have any ideas, though, let me know.
One song that I really enjoy, "Oh Beauty Ever Ancient,"
Oh,
I think
Beauty
is what
Ever
it's
Chance.
called. I think that's what it's called. That's one of my favorite songs.
Cool.
So that one would be one of my suggestions. I'll shoot you some mariachi suggestions later on
Wonderful. Okay, I'm
when
going to
I
be,
can think of them.
for anyone who follows us on Spotify, this playlist is going to be very varied. We'll put it that way. It's going to be an interesting one, full of chanting and full of mariachi and even just the regular Catholic hymns. So get ready for a very, very interesting mixed playlist. But that's the nature of our community here, which is awesome. Um, Let me see if anyone, I don't think anyone has asked us any questions. I'm just going to scroll through these comments or through everyone who's joined so far. A big thank you to everyone who's watched today. Um, Someone says that they miss you and they hope you're well.
Oh, I
Oh,
miss you too. I
you
hope you're
just
doing. Yeah,
commented.
I don't know why I didn't. I could have just like said it rather than commenting back.
Hey, it's
But I
double
hope
the
you're doing
blessing.
well, Justin, and God bless.
All right. Well, unless you have any questions for me or for Brother Patricio, that's all the questions I have. So,
I don't think I have any questions unless anyone else who's watching has any questions.
yeah, I think. Well, if you have any questions, after we end the video, please feel free to message us or comment, and I'll be sure to. I think you have the account on your phone, correct? Our Norbertine Outreach NM account.
I think so. If not, I
Yeah,
could get the
yeah,
information
I think you
from
do.
you.
So if there's any questions specifically for Brother Patricio, he can answer them directly through our Norbertine Outreach account or through his own personal account, which is that Gualmar97.
Walmart 90_97.
Can I ask where that name came from?
I think I was just watching a lot of videos and there was a lot of memes that I saw of how um like Walmart is pronounced with an accent. So so we were talking about that, and so I just decided to go with to go with that name.
That's great. It's so New Mexican. We are. All right. Okay. Well, I will be keeping you and the community in prayer, and um, just thank you so much for how you're serving our community. And I know that you're really busy with school, but your prayers means a lot. So thank you for how you're serving in that respect. And I think that's it for this Communio Convo. Just so everyone knows, I will be providing a kind of a guide on how to have a Tuesday evening of prayer at home. As this week we would usually have our Tuesday service at the Abbey, we're going to be providing that little kind of do it DIY Tuesday service. So stay tuned for the information regarding that. And then we have a couple other things coming out in the coming weeks, especially on social media and online. So stay tuned. And thank you so much, everyone who has joined us today. And happy Easter.
Happy Easter, everyone. God bless, and everyone. We're keeping all of you in our prayers here in the community.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Brother Patricio, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Selena. This was great. It was fun.
Yes, thank you for navigating this with me.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good
Alrighty.
day.
All right.
Have
You
a
as
good
well.
day,
God bless.
everyone. Bye bye.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.